This might be the end for the useless daughter-in-law. I came home early and heard my mother-in-law's strangely happy voice. Soon after, I heard my husband's disgusted laughter. I quietly went into the kitchen where they were. In the dark hallway, I watched them with held breath. Tonight's the night, Mom. Tomorrow's the big day for her. I wonder how Mr. Abushi will feel after this. I can't wait, my mother-in-law said with a smirk, making a nasty face. She was putting something she had in her head into a pot. I was shocked but also determined. If that's what you're going to do, I dare you to take the bait. They're forgetting the most important thing. This is what I do best, so I'm looking forward to it. My name is Pamela. I've been married for 3 years now and I'm a housewife. Our story is a bit different. It all started when my husband, Luke, fell in love with me while I was on stage. I was a stage actress before we got married. I was quite successful in my acting career. I was busy, but I loved it more than anything. I enjoyed the excitement of being on stage every day. It felt fun and rewarding, and I knew it was my calling. I even had some fans, and one of them was Luke. Luke came to see my plays every day with great enthusiasm. Since he was a friend of someone else in the theater company, we started going out to dinner and eventually began a relationship that led to marriage. Luke was incredibly kind and happy just to be with me, probably because he had always been a fan. He did everything for me, and his love was so strong that it sometimes surprised me. When he cried and said, "I do this because I love you, Pam, please understand," I would forgive him. I guess that's the weakness of love. Our relationship was going well, and I thought our marriage would work out. But married life turned out to be different from what I expected. What bothered me was my mother-in-law. She didn't like that I was acting. She said that if I was going to be a wife, I had to give up acting and focus on housework. Most importantly, she insisted that a wife's main job was to have children. She even forced me to quit the theater company. Even Luke, who was usually so nice, seemed to put his mother before me. When she was involved, he would hide my scripts so I couldn't go to work. He wouldn't let me into the house if I was late for practice and would interfere with my work. I tried talking to Luke and asking him to let me continue working, but he wouldn't listen. It was frustrating, but I knew that if I kept pushing, it would cause problems for the theater company. In the end, I decided to focus on being a housewife first because my mother-in-law kept insisting that I needed to have a child. So I agreed to concentrate on housework until we had a child, planning to return to work once the child was a bit older. I didn't want to have a child with Luke, but once I became a housewife, my mother-in-law's sarcasm only got worse. Our apartment was just a 20-minute drive from her house. Since her husband had passed away a few years ago, she came over every day. She would eat leftovers without asking, complain about the food being too seasoned, and rummage through things without permission, always finding something to complain about. When I was a stage actress, going to work was my joy. Now that I'm a housewife, I can't find any peace. My mother-in-law interferes with everything I do, from morning till night, and complains about it all. The stress is overwhelming. Even Luke, who used to be so kind, became cold towards me. He would say things like, "You're a useless wife. All you do is stay home and be quiet. Don't talk back. Just do the housework." He started treating me just like his mother did. On top of that, once my mother-in-law found out I made good money before we were married, she began asking me for money regularly. She would say things like, "You have money but don't spend it. Money is only worth something when you spend it." When I refused to give her money, she would yell at me and things would get out of hand. I had no choice but to give her money from my savings, which made me angry because she was wasting it. After a year of marriage, the amount of money I gave her had grown quite large. Around the same time, I discovered messages on Luke's phone showing that he was having an affair with a coworker. In one of the messages I found, Luke's lover said, "Pamela is dumb, so she'll never notice the affair." Luke was making fun of me. This made me seriously consider getting a divorce. Luckily, Luke and I didn't have any children, so if we were going to divorce, now would be the time. But I felt a bit lost because I was supposed to play a supporting role at the theater company. I hadn't told Luke or my mother-in-law about it. Even after getting married, I continued to see my theater friends and stay involved with the troupe. It was important for me to keep my spirits up. One of the troupe members, who had been listening to my complaints, asked if I wanted to take a small role in a show without telling anyone. I wanted to be on stage so badly that I couldn't resist. I didn't care if it was a minor role. I just wanted to perform again. I agreed right away. However, if I divorced now, it might interfere with my rehearsals. Since this was my first time back on stage in a long time, I wanted to make it a success. So I decided to wait until after the show to get divorced. The show was only a few days away. One day, as I was cooking dinner, my mother-in-law came up to me with a demanding look in her eyes. "Hey Pamela, what's this?" My mother-in-law demanded, holding up flyers and scripts. "Where did you get these?" she asked. "They're from your bag," she said, showing a flyer for a volunteer performance and a script for a play. "You can't just go through someone's things without asking," I protested. "Shut up. It doesn't matter now. You said you quit your job, so explain this," she snapped. "Yes, I lied about working part-time and went to practice," I admitted. "Maybe I shouldn't have tried to perform behind your back, but that doesn't mean it's okay to invade my privacy." As usual, my mother-in-law ranted, and I was so frustrated that I shouted, "So what? What's wrong with acting?" "Yes, I went to stage practice secretly. I lied about the part-time job." "So what? You admit it. You're just an amateur stage actor. It's pathetic that you cling to the stage like that," she said, making me furious. I was so angry that I felt dizzy and my vision seemed red. "I'm sorry I lied, but what's wrong with doing what I love?" I said, surprising her with my strong response. Despite her reaction, I continued with my work. Performing on stage has been my passion for my whole life. "Thanks to this job, I even met your son," I told my mother-in-law. "And yet, you've unfairly taken away my work and bully me every day. I can't take it anymore. Why can't I at least take a break and do what I love? I've been practicing for months for this play and I've done all the chores properly. You and Luke haven't noticed until now. So what's wrong with that? The show is the day after tomorrow, and no matter what you say, I'm going on stage." I said all this in one breath. My mother-in-law just stared at me, speechless. For me, the stage is my reason for living and helps relieve my stress. Do you know that stress is bad for your health? Maybe the reason I can't have children is because of the stress of living with you every day, I added. My mother-in-law looked frustrated but left without saying anything. I felt relieved after finally expressing everything I had been holding in. The next day, I went to practice and was in better shape than usual, probably because I had let go of so much stress. I came home early because it was the day before the show. When I walked in, I found Luke and my mother-in-law talking in the kitchen. Their conversation seemed so absurd that they didn't even notice me. Then I heard my mother-in-law say, "This will definitely be the end of Pamela's career as an actor." My heart sank when I heard those words. What the hell does that mean? I thought, listening to their conversation. I noticed they were working on something. I quietly observed from a distance and saw that my mother-in-law was grinding nuts in a blender and mixing them into the soup. I'm allergic to nuts, and even a small amount can cause itching in my mouth and throat, making it hard to speak. I told Luke about my allergy when we were dating. Could they be adding nuts to make sure I can't go on stage tomorrow? I quickly took out my voice recorder, which I had brought for practice, and started recording. "This is finally going to happen tonight. This should teach her a lesson." She got so cocky talking back to me, I heard my mother-in-law say. Luke replied, "Yeah, if she had just listened to you, Mom, none of this would have happened." "Oh well, she's a hopeless wife. She doesn't learn until we teach her." I was in shock hearing Luke's words. I knew my mother-in-law hated me, but I couldn't believe that Luke felt the same way. I had always believed in him, no matter what. Feeling lost, I ended up at the rehearsal hall, where several troupe members were practicing. "Hey Pamela, what are you doing here? I thought you were going home earlier," one of them asked. "Hey, is something wrong? Are you okay? You can tell me," one of the troupe members said. I ended up telling them everything I had seen. They were shocked but listened carefully. "This is terrible. Hey Pam, what do you think about getting back at them?" one of them asked. I listened to their plan and decided to go along with it. I was determined to show Luke and my mother-in-law how serious I was. When I got home a little later, I made a point to announce, "I'm home," more loudly than usual. My mother-in-law immediately came over with a sweet tone and said, "Pamela, you're home. I'm sorry about yesterday. I didn't realize I was too harsh. I'm very sorry. Can you forgive me? I thought you might be tired from practice, so I made you a meal. Look, you need to eat well and prepare for tomorrow. Come on, eat up." She placed the soup I had seen earlier on the dining room table, which I knew was full of ground nuts. I sat down quietly and said, "Thank you for your thoughtfulness. The food looks delicious." Luke and my mother-in-law watched me with smiles I had never seen before. To be honest, they looked disgusting to me. I pretended to eat the soup and swallowed. Then I stopped moving, dropped my spoon, held my hands to my throat, and rolled out of my chair, acting like I was in agony. I never thought my acting skills would be useful in a situation like this. Luke rushed over with a glass of water, panicking as he saw my suffering. "Oh no, are you okay? Drink some water. Can you manage it?" he asked frantically. I heard Luke crying and my mother-in-law was panicking around me. "Oh my God, I didn't mean for this to happen. I just wanted you to miss the show tomorrow. I only put a little nuts in the soup, just a little," she said. Luke shouted, "Mom, not now. Call an ambulance." "No, no, no," my mother-in-law replied. "Think about what the neighbors will say if we get in trouble with the police. It was supposed to be a prank. What should we do?" I listened to them and then stopped pretending to be in pain. I stood up, fixing my messy hair as I looked at Luke and said, "Pamela, are you all right?" "Yes, I'm fine," I said. "It was just an act. You know I'm an actress." "What? What are you surprised about?" I added. "I'm an actress. I was just acting." My mother-in-law's face turned red. "Pamela, how dare you? Do you think you can make fun of people like this?" "It's you and your son who are making fun of me," I replied. "You put nuts in my food to keep me from performing tomorrow. Don't try to play dumb with me. I have proof." I pulled out a voice recorder from my bag, showing the recording screen. "And I have witnesses," I said. The members of the theater troupe appeared from behind the door. They had followed me home because they thought I might need witnesses. Luke and my mother-in-law stared at the troupe members, frozen in shock. "This is just for fun, you know. We are family," my mother-in-law said, trying to downplay the situation. "Forgive us, okay?" my mother-in-law said with a strange smile. "Family? Don't make me laugh," I replied. "I've studied acting as my job, and you think you can fool me with such poor acting? I know very well that you don't like me. Do you really think I'll forgive you now? Keep dreaming." As I spoke, I showed them the divorce papers. My mother-in-law and Luke panicked, clearly surprised that I was considering a divorce. I played the recording I had made earlier and said, "Would you rather go to the police or get a divorce?" Luke and I divorced without any arguments. I also demanded alimony due to his affair. When Luke struggled to pay, his lover left him. The way Luke treated me became a topic of gossip at his workplace, so he had no choice but to resign. My ex-mother-in-law tried to prevent me from returning to the stage. However, one of the troupe members saw her waiting for me at the back entrance and reported her to the police. Despite my warnings, she continued trying to sabotage my performances. Eventually, I had to get a restraining order against her. My ex-husband is still unemployed, and his mother's arrest has made them a neighborhood spectacle. They've been living a difficult life, trying to stay out of sight. I'm happy to be back on stage, which I love. It's where I feel most at ease. I'm not saying I'll never get married again, but for now, I'm content with my work and my life as an actress. Thank you for watching until the end. Please subscribe to our channel if you enjoyed this story. See you in the next video.